Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect, and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello, welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my special guest is Sameer Somal. He is the co-founder and CFO at Blue Ocean Global Technology. He is a subject matter expert, witness, and frequent speaker. Sameer helps clients build, monitor, and repair their digital presence. Sameer, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Neil. Pleasure to be here, and look forward to sharing some perspective for the benefit of your audience.
Well, definitely. I know you've done a lot of speaking all around the world about what it is that you do. So give us a brief background, share with us how you got started in this space and, where it's brought you now.
Well, Neil, first and foremost, I'm an educator. I am passionate about sharing information to help others make the most informed decisions. In fact, the underlying philosophy of our company, Blue Ocean Global Technology, that I co-founded with Margarita Cheng, an inspiring woman and my business partner, is our Blue Ocean strategy from the book Blue Ocean Strategy, inspired by, is education. And we pride ourselves in constantly learning and being able to share perspective both through written content, video content, and engaging audiences at conferences and private briefings. Oftentimes, Neil, we speak about subjects and prepare content related to this notion of online reputation management or digital reputation. And so while we educate on these subjects, we also own an agency in Blue Ocean Global Technology that specializes in building, monitoring, and repairing digital reputations. Where our company, Neil, is a little bit different is that our model is predicated, and the foundation of it is working with PR agencies and other digital agencies to really be their trusted partner from a technical optimization and reputation management standpoint, which has changed, I think, the value curve and the way that we're able to foster trust with the marketplace. And I know we'll cover kind of some of the nuances of that. I think your other part of your question, Neil, was just how we got started. And people always ask me, how did you end up in the technology business? I have a background, Neil, in finance. I'm a former banker. I've traveled the country educating institutional investors. I've worked for large banks like Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, Scotia Bank. And when Margarita Cheng and I decided we were going to form our sister company, a wealth management firm, I said, Adam Smith, the Wealth of Nations, Rita, we need to make sure that we are using technology to our advantage. And it's not a resource constraint, kind of like Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations. It's the one thing that changes everything. And so Rita and I thought about this, and she said, Sameer, it's kind of ironic. Anytime I'm looking to get technology help, whether it's for a board or past ventures, it's so confusing and frustrating how it takes longer, Neil, to find people you can trust. And she said even to build a stunning website than it did to bring one of her children onto this earth. And she meant 9 months, and it shouldn't take that long. So with that recognition in mind, we knew, Neil, that we could not be held back by technology and need to be an asset in the face of the digital revolution and the integration of our lives to the internet. And so we did a global search. We did a lot of due diligence on smaller, agile technology, search, web development firms. We found some great companies that were run by people of character, which is what we prioritized. And in finding several of those, we became clients, referred clients, and we ultimately acquired one of those organizations back in 2012 and took an existing company, existing team, and branded that under Blue Ocean Global Technology. And since we've evolved to focus and position ourselves with respect to reputation, as that's how we ultimately create and provide value.
Excellent. I like those two words that you used at the end there, position and reputation, because ultimately when somebody is about to do business with you, that is exactly what they're looking for. They're going on to Google and they're looking for what kind of reputation does this company have? You know, are they positioned as somebody that I can trust to get the job done? And, you know, I talk to so many digital marketers doing these interviews, and that is one of the problems that just comes up over and over and over again. You know, so many business owners out there are, you know, have bad experiences with their digital marketing company, and they're looking for somebody that they can trust. So tell me who it is really that you work with, and, you know, what problems are they having that you're able to help solve?
Well, I think, you know, first and foremost, Neil, it's important on the notion of positioning that there's a wide dispersion of competence with respect to digital marketing and understanding. And that's because it's a relatively new industry. So many people could say they're providing the same service, but it's entirely different. And so that certainly presents a unique set of challenges, to say the least. And when you think about reputation, how I define that for business owners, executives, Neil, who are key decision makers, is how do you make sure that the trust, relationship capital, and goodwill that you have with perhaps friends, family, but of course, clients, partners, investors, offline, Neil, is represented appropriately online, because reputations are everything. And so if you, for instance, serve thousands of happy clients, as many of our clients do, but perhaps you only have 5 Google reviews and 4 of them are 1 star, it doesn't paint an accurate picture of what you truly represent as an organization. And so what we, in terms of who we work with, is first and foremost, I would say about 75% of our clients are in partnership with other agencies. So we work with PR companies when there's a campaign on whether it's a large or small campaign, maybe a Fortune 500. Like a campaign I'm working on right now is focused on positioning their branding, philanthropy, the way they take care of their United States employees, and that's really not at the forefront given some recent press. So we would work to optimize the assets that are being placed, work collaboratively with kind of all the websites, blogs, microblogs, interviews, webcasts, podcasts, social media, so that those digital assets are appearing appropriately in search, and also so that when people are looking for certain keywords or information related to how the company wants to be positioned in this campaign, the website and other things are populating. And then ultimately, how do we capture that information, or how do we get them to take action? So that is where many of our clients come from, are through these agency partnerships, because I think, Neil, in the face of the digital revolution, it's really about getting access to resources, not necessarily owning them. So, for example, there's one PR agency that does phenomenal work in the financial services industry. And because of my background therein, they learned about me and they approached me and said, "Hey, Sameer, tell us a little bit about your experience." And what they realized is they had a small team in-house that was spending a lot of time on web development. They were taking 2 other departments a big percentage of time, and they realized, wow, here's a firm that can get done all of our web development, do it better than we do, and make us look incredibly good with our clients. So that's how that partnership resulted, and it, you know, kind of makes us, puts us in a position to have ongoing relationships if you continue to deliver results. And so our clients certainly, it's unique and on a case-by-case basis. And so we work with many growing companies. I would say that we don't necessarily work, with startups per se, unless they're funded. We work with a few large organizations playing a strategic role. And naturally, we work with many individuals when there's been reputation repair issues. And of course, we consult, and then there's the legal angle where when there is a court case related to information that's been posted online, maybe it's internet defamation and somebody is suing somebody else for $5 million because they hired someone and they said that's what it would cost to fix. And I'm brought in to quantify the damages and help my client, be it usually the law firm, respond to that case. So we don't have a typical client. What I would say is we take the time, borrowing a line from probably the most revered person in history for me personally, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. We always walk slowly and never walk backwards. And just to illustrate that point, we get a lot of people who reach out to us and say, hey, Sameer, we want to have an Instagram, we want to have a social media campaign, or we get referred an SEO client. Someone's like, hey, Sameer, we want to really make sure we're found on these search results. And I always bring them back. We do an analysis on their website and say, hey, look, your website isn't even optimized. So the core content that defines your organization isn't even being found appropriately. We have to start there. No, Sameer, we've already invested money. We just redid that. And I say, well, that's nice, but we can't be involved with a particular client unless it's up to our standards, because if results don't come, ultimately our reputation's at stake.
That's right. Yep. So, online reputation is pretty much everything. And, I deal with a lot of the local businesses in that space. And it's so paramount, especially with Google My Business and all these reviews up there. But, in the situation with an attorney, because they're up there on the local space as well, if they get, a bad piece of press, it can go to the news. The media is super powerful. What kind of things are you able to do to, make that go away?
Great question. And we not only get a lot of inquiries on this, I provide perspective on this on an ongoing basis. And the issues related to reputation repair are expansive. I mean, there could be competitors, stratagems. There's consumer feedbacks and review sites, Google, Yelp, even Facebook. There's court case filings. Hey, let's just, for the sake of example, Neil's the CEO of a successful manufacturing company. He's falsely accused of some discrimination. He's found innocent. But when the company is Googled, there are court documents out there showing that legal case that essentially make him look guilty. So innocent in real life, in court, guilty online. There's embarrassing images and videos, whether it's mug shots or other types of images, which you can imagine. There's erroneous information, erroneous profiles. There's mistaken identity. Let's just say, and this happens all the time. I'll give you a quick example because I know that will be beneficial for your audience. In September of this year, I spoke at an event in Chicago, and there was a director of marketing who came up to me afterward and said, Sameer, I really have to talk to you. I have a very serious situation. And what happened is that this particular client was in the financial advisory business, and the CEO has the same name as another financial advisor who was fraudulent and a criminal. And there was somebody who lost, I think their family, and someone had lost. I think it was actually a woman whose husband had the relationship. So the husband had a relationship, had lost several $1 million, and this woman was not happy about it. And so she went online, found the wrong company and the wrong person, and defamed them for almost 6 months, writing reviews, posting negative content, commenting on everything. And because the financial advisory firm didn't necessarily have monitoring in place, sometimes these decisions of reputation, social media, one of the easiest mistakes I find companies making is, we hired someone right out of school, 1 year of experience to manage our social media. And, my question always is, do they know anything about your brand reputation besides, maybe checking their own Instagram feed? So they had been in, unfortunately, a position where there was so much content online that was negative and defaming, and it was crushing them because anybody who looked up the company and firm saw that it was negative and they didn't do, let's just say a quote unquote good job. And so we took on that case, and we've since been working to look at all the different angles on how to repair that. And each case, Neil, is unique. So one of the opportunities we've seen is that many reputation firms, they provide packages. Oh, Sameer comes to them, and we've actually tried a number of cases so we could really understand the competition, and they'll simply provide a package and say, hey, here's the package, this is the monthly amount, we're going to suppress the information. So it's important to note that reputation repair, Neil, is not synonymous. It's not the same as search suppression. And search suppression, for the audience benefit, when there's negative content on Google, search suppression is creating content or optimizing content so that gets pushed off the first few pages. And most companies, Neil, they focus on search suppression, and they don't have experience in actually removing content from Google.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the misconceptions is that you can't remove content from Google. Actually, I was shocked. There was a partner at an Amwell top 50 law firm in New York. When I was hired as a subject matter expert witness for a particular case, and for non-disclosure, I can't really say any of the specifics, but the partner said, Sameer, well, we know you can't remove any content. Here's our advice. And I said, well, no, we actually can. And within 3 weeks, we removed, I think, 2 or 3 of the defamatory links out there to make a point in assessing the reputation. And so even very successful, very smart people aren't aware of those nuances. And of course, when I talk about removing content from Google, oftentimes it will still remain on the quote unquote dark web. But when something's removed from Google, Google's cache, in many ways, it is no longer visible, and it is removed. So I just want to make that differentiation. I've had questions about that, and so I want your audience, some of the smart people I'm sure in your community would say, well, actually, Sameer, it's going to remain on the dark web. And I would say that is also the case unless you remove it there as well.
Well, the dark web is a rabbit hole that we probably don't want to jump down in this conversation, but that's good to know that you can actually go about removing some of the stuff on Google rather than just trying to suppress it, like you were saying. So what kind of activities are you able to do for the company that you're working for to get these things removed, or a combination and suppressing and putting some good content out there?
Yeah, so I think with suppression, you have to really analyze the domain authority, the search traffic. And so whenever I've had conversations, or even when I've spoken at events, and people have said, I've asked them, well, how long did it take for the company that you engaged to get back to? And they're like, we had a proposal within the day of speaking to them. And I always say, if you think about it, in order to really assess what something's going to cost and the resources required, there needs to be a great degree of kind of research done. And we always want to avoid, Neil, kind of climbing the wrong ladder to get to the top of the wrong building. So we take the time to analyze suppression, and content removal is an evolving and dynamic, I would say, business. And so there are probably 8 different ways we explore content removal. Some of those are proprietary. A few that I can share are related to negotiated sympathetic removal. We solve so many cases where somebody has negative information out there. They approach the website, domain authority, parent company, whoever's a person of, kind of authority, and they're told no. Oftentimes, the response communication and the opportunity set to have the source organization remove that changes a little bit when you have a subject matter expert witness, an entrepreneur like Sameer Somal representing you, who reaches out to them directly and is able to, I would say, negotiate a removal. And that could mean one of many different things. But I lead on the front lines, and so that is certainly one way. There's also, cease and desist. There's, correspondence from a legal end that can allow results to come. And we work with a network of attorneys that have experience in this arena. Depending upon the particular case, we may or may not involve them. I may work with some of them to draft a letter so that our clients don't have to necessarily engage a law firm, because I always want to be mindful about their time and resources. So that is another avenue. Another is Google has very strict policies about what can be out there and what can't. And if you're able to prove that content violates that, that is another option for removing. So as you can see, there's a great deal of effort that goes into it. But, negative information, on Google, how do you quantify your reputation? I wrote an article for CFA Institute. If you just Google Digital Reputation 101, it's so hard because reputations are intangible. Mm-hmm. And so how do you quantify the cost of a 6-figure, 7-figure even client or business partnership goes on Google and decides not to call you or be interested? And then there's the angle of, our business is only referrals. Well, in today's day and age, 20 years ago, someone talks highly about your business and someone needs a service, they're calling you. Today, they're Googling you before they call. And if they find information to reinforce that, they'll call. And if they don't, they just may not. And so you may miss an opportunity to have a conversation. So that is, I hope, a little bit of guidance on removals. And as some of the audience members may know, having seen people or had people in their lives with issues, or maybe they themselves, having negative content out there is like a permanent leech on your face, my clients tell me. And so alleviating that, is something that I take a lot of pride in, because you really can change lives. And of course, there's many examples I can give for that. So I hope that was helpful.
Yes. Now, Sameer, we talk about reputation, and getting a bad reputation is a bad thing. And then all of a sudden it's a crisis. Is there any preemptive work that a company might be able to do to prevent these kinds of things from having such an effect?
Absolutely. Great question, Neil. To make a sports analogy, the best, offense is always going to be a strong defense. And number one, if you have positive content out there and you're consistently building your digital presence so it's authentic, you have high quality digital assets, should there ever be, Neil, crisis situations, information occurrences that can't be controlled, you then have already positive content out there to help mitigate the negative damage. Whereas if you're going to have to create new content, that's going to pose a challenge relative to having already quality content. So that's, I think, one consideration, Neil. Another one is monitoring. And so making sure that you have something as simple as Google alerts on your name, the company's name, that can help you find. We have this all the time. People quote us, they reference us, they talk about working with us. And so we find out about that because we have alerts set to keywords associated with our business name. And conversely, when there is negative information that shows up, we can identify that. And that's why we encourage clients to do that as well. And just a quick point of note, I've seen this over and over, Neil. Somebody has negative information. We've actually had a client that came back to us late last month, right around Christmas, and they reached out to us probably about 8 months ago. They had a news article that was published. It was actually an arrest record of one of their C-level executives, and the case ended up being cleared. I'm not here to get into the validity there, but the arrest record was posted on 2 sites. Well, 6 months later, other websites had syndicated. They'd reposted that, and those 2 links had turned into 20 plus. And so now they're in a situation where all those links were gaining prominence, and they're really affecting the digital reputation of this company, because they were actually coming up because in the articles it said, first last name executive of XYZ company. So they were associated. So that was a case where somebody who didn't address a bad situation turned into, I would say, a defamatory one. And, I think the wisdom from our past president, Teddy Roosevelt, applies here, Neil. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is actually the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, when you have a bad piece of content go up about you and you have the notifications on, many times there's kind of hot tempers for, a little bit, but there's a cooling off period. And maybe in hindsight, they can say, okay, well, maybe I was wrong or just emotional, and they'd be willing to take it down. Is that something that you deal with, or do you want to attack that problem as quickly as you can, or leave a cooling off period?
It's a great question, and I think that's where, because reputations are at stake, and that's why we educate on this subject, I would say you need to address it immediately. Again, speaking to your audience of oftentimes entrepreneurs and key leaders at firms, which I can relate to because I am both of those, you need to engage people that have experience. And I have happy clients that say over and over, Sameer, we tried to do it ourselves, or we probably should have engaged you right at the beginning because that could have yielded results that were easier, that were faster. We tried to do it ourselves. We don't have any experience there. And so, I would say that would be probably the guidance I would provide. I mean, I want to be careful because I'm an educator and it's important to be objective. But I do think that it's, if you're an expert in a particular business line, if you're, a doctor, you may not have the expertise of digital reputation and presence, and that's evolving so quickly. So you want to make sure you engage the right people if you view your reputation and digital presence and understand how important that is. And so we create a lot of content and really put our hearts out there to explain why that's important. But if people don't understand that, then that's something that, ultimately they may not feel that's important, but that would be my advice to people when there are challenges is explore all options, reach out to several firms. We've had a number of situations where we tell prospective clients, like, go interview 4 or 5 more firms and come back if you feel like we are the best and the ones that can probably deliver results based upon our interaction.
Well, education is paramount, and I don't think many business owners, from your local business owner up to the Fortune 500, which might have a better idea, realize just how often people are searching for your name, your business name, and the reputation. It is a search that happens all the time. So if you do have some issues there, it needs to be fixed. Sameer, if somebody wants to reach out to you or find more information about you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, of course, you can Google Sameer Somal. You can reach me via LinkedIn message. My email is my first initial S, my last name Somal, SOMAL, and that is at Blue Ocean Global Tech, TECH.com. And one of the jokes I make when I speak on building relationship capital and how it corresponds to reputation, Neil, is that, isn't it ironic that technology brings us close to people far away? You connect with an old high school buddy on Facebook, but it also takes us away from those right next to us. And people do business with people, and I'm very comfortable, and I put my business phone number out there because I travel often. So you can leave me a voicemail at 202-276-7589. And even when I'm traveling internationally, that phone works.
Excellent. And again, it all comes back to, the reputation, your relationship, and the trust that you have in that person. And, like you said, people do business with people, and those are important things. Well, Sameer, this has been wonderful. It's been very eye-opening, I'm sure, for some people, just really see what goes into protecting a reputation and managing that reputation, because it can have a huge impact on business. Sameer Somal, thank you very much for being my guest on the Trust Factor Radio today.
Thank you, Neil. It was a pleasure and honor, and look forward to building upon our friendship to date.
Excellent. And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.